So we'll begin with our usual prayer for teacher and student. By now you know it well. You can join in. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Punaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavaditam Astu Ma Vidvishavai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May that one protect us both, teacher and student. May we work together with great enthusiasm. May that protect us, nourish us, and may we have illumination from our studies. May we not unnecessarily cavil with each other. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. So I'll pause as usual so that you can formulate some questions.
I do have a question, Swami J. There is something that confuses me because we all have connections from past lives, from like different countries and you know, different people. And I wonder, when there's an aspect of God, let's say a goddess, let's say, I don't know, Horus from Egypt, which was the goddess of love, which was the mother of the mothers. And suddenly you feel so connected. It's like, let's say there was someone like 2 years ago that gave me a necklace who has her symbolism. And then suddenly you start finding more and more things that you say, actually, I do have that, and actually I do have this. Does that mean that you have a part of this aspect inside you? Does it mean that it's just showing up to you? What does it actually really mean when these things happen? Because it really does happen a lot to me, but I just don't know if I need to go to Egypt. Perhaps. So much connection. I mean, what does it actually mean?
So there are two aspects to our memory. One is memory that we are born with. The other one is memory that we accumulate during our lifetime. The Bhagavad Gita gives us two descriptions for this. One is called guna, one is called karma. Karma, of course, we already know about. It comes from the root kra, to act, to do. Because every action has an equal and opposite reaction, and we live in a causal world. But the causal world obviously precedes our birth, because the cause of our birth are desires that are there from previous births. The simple example given in the process of so-called evolution is an animal looks at a tree and decides that the topmost leaves are much more delicious. So it stretches its neck up and then forms, maybe catching one leaf or so, and forms an affiliation for the higher leaves. It develops a long neck to access them and a digestive system that is suitable for it. We call this giraffe. So we are carrying forward some psychological wishes that need to be fulfilled. And the fact that the body dies should not prevent us from accomplishing this. This is called reincarnation, but actually nothing reincarnates. Nothing reincarnates because we believe in reincarnation essentially of foolishness. Now, foolishness is not a bad thing. We don't decide what is morally good, morally bad. It's just that we are caught up in a world that attracts us. And so there's naturally an attraction toward people, places, scenes, and objects. And we can feel a sense of deja vu. Maybe I have been here before or been there before. And we can easily attribute this to a past life, or at least to a past association. Whether it's this life or a previous life makes no difference, because it is all a previous moment. And what we call death is just a momentary pause. Generally, the idea in Vedanta is that we accumulate the fruits of our activities. When the body dies, we then go to a place so-called. This is just a way for conveniently expressing something. We go into a condition where we enjoy the fruits of our activities. And once we've enjoyed the fruits of our activities without accumulating any more, we then come back in this human existence and carry on. If we've led a terrible, terrible, bad, evil life, then of course it's reborn in a regressive sense. But we always have to bear in mind the emphasis in Vedanta is nothing is born and nothing dies. There's that one solid Atman, which is ever steady, ever full, ever free, and that remains. We always have to remind ourselves in asking and answering these questions, we always have to remind ourselves that when we talk about reality, we are really talking about enacting a scene, a drama, something like on a stage where there is a witness, and the witness is always steady. When there is nothing to witness, we cannot justifiably call it witness. We have to use some other name. That name is generally Atman or self, the internal self. So, in terms of associations with Egypt and other things, I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether you have an association from childhood in this life, which is called karma, or a previous life, which is called guna, and comes as a basis for further development. That's why when we study the Enneagram, we're talking about coming into the world with a base of some kind, some previous experience. And all of our understanding, all of our behavior, all of our experience is learned behavior. And that is necessary from a previous moment. Whether we call it a previous life or not, that's beside the point. It only looks like something that changes. Evolution is an apparitional understanding or interpretation of the world which it changes. And we should give it no more currency than that. We have to continuously remind ourselves. Otherwise, we get caught up maybe in fancy and ultimately superstition. And we might say, oh, I have an affinity for Horus, like that image so much, I should go to Egypt immediately. And then when we go to Egypt, we experience that and so on and so forth. We have to summarize it. What was the net result on me? What was the net effect on me? Was it worthwhile? Did it enhance my spiritual life? And the criteria for all behavior really is it enhancing my freedom or inhibiting my freedom? And if it's enhancing my freedom, then we have to act upon it. If it's not, then we have to carefully weigh it up as a kind of obstacle, and we have to assess, that we have to judge, and that we have to decide, should we keep this obstacle or should we find a way around it? Finding a way around it is best. We have the capacity to do it. We're equipped to do it. So I don't know if I fully answered your question to your satisfaction, but we always have to bear in mind this question of freedom when we ask and answer these questions. The danger is to assert our human individuality and personality and put that up as a key thing. We have to purify our minds. Once we purify our minds, we have the answers to our own questions, because purification means clarification also. The answers become clear to us. And we do this practice principally through japa and meditation. Japa and meditation done in two ways. The first way is in a dedicated way, formal way, sitting. The other way is in normal everyday life. We have to constantly practice the presence. This is meditation with eyes open. And in devotional meditation, it is practicing the presence of the divine with eyes closed. So you need to give me some feedback whether I satisfactorily answered your question or whether I misunderstood it.
Swami, you actually have. Everyone seems to. I mean, I love it, and I see. Believe me, I see. Call it God. I call it in everything. But since I started 1 month ago, everyone comes to me to tell me about their lives. There are many. I mean, there have been many situations. Like, for example, this morning I was reading about Vivekananda, and one day I opened the book, and it was the site where he was following a path, but he didn't know where he was going. He was just following a path, and I felt such a strong energy in that moment. I got like, I literally was so strong, and I said, you know what, this is me at this point. And this morning I read about the song he sang to Ramakrishna. And I was in the sofa sitting, and I said, I need to search this song. And so I was listening to that song, and then suddenly Swami Purnananda, he sent an image of Vivekananda on the group, which is why I followed it with another image of the song. So when I get like those connections, and it's very random. Like, for example, for me, Ganesha's eyes are, oh my God, this is God. Like, literally, I need to bow every time I see it. I just can't look at those eyes without bowing. I can't. And I got to a point where I feel, I am actually married to God. That's how I feel. And even when let's say I listen every day to my songs, and my songs are mantras and stuff like that. If let's say I try to listen to a song which is normal, let's say call it to these times, and my energy, I feel it changes frequency, but it changes lower. And then suddenly I feel like, for example, my leg starts hurting. And I know this is it saying go back, then go lower. And then suddenly I would change the song and the pain will go. So yeah, there are moments where it was getting really confusing, because I was just like, are all those aspects coming up to me because they are inside me, or is it because they are with me? Or what was it really? So yeah, but you absolutely answered.
But the important thing is that you're witnessing them. So there are two aspects to your question. One is the objective world that we are witnessing, but the other one is I'm the witness of it. And when we rehearse, I'm the witness of it. And when you pick up some mood, or listen to a song, or catch some vibration, because the whole universe is vibration. There's nothing in the universe which is not vibrating or oscillating. And this has nothing to do with Vedanta. This is modern science. So what is the origin of this oscillation? It's called cosmic mind. So when we see so-called coincidences in our life, when we see episodes of synergy, and when we get maybe an unusual experience where there are coinciding events, well, it's natural that it happens because there's only one mind, cosmic mind. And we have to repeat this time and time and time again until we understand it has nothing to do with an individuality, which is only a tuning mechanism. The mind is called antakarana. It's an instrument, internal instrument. Just like you have an external instrument, a radio, a transistor, that you can tune into a broadcast, the internal instrument is there, and that catches the cosmic broadcast. a blissful bass that broadcasts continuously in our favor. And when we tune into it properly, we'll catch something useful. But equally, it's a carrier. That means whatever thought that we put out is the cosmic mind enacts for us, almost as an agency. So not only is it a primary mover and creator, but it's also an agency of change. And we are responsible for that. We can't blame somebody else. So it is good to have a level of sensitivity. It is also good to have a perspective on it and to be realistic about it. And Ganesha is a symbol of cosmic mind, because Ganesha must have arisen as a form with pot belly and tusk and trunk and all that. Because if you look at the Devanagari script of 3 sounds, 3 letters, if you will, combined, then it comes out as Om. And when we see that in Devanagari script as a combined letter or combined word, we can easily see Ganesha's potbelly, we can easily see his tusk, we can easily see the curve of his trunk, we can even easily see an eye, and so it goes on. And those who have had a vision, say, of Ganesha, will certainly remark on the eyes and particularly the eyelids. We can use these images to guide us toward the actual Om. That's the important thing, which is cosmic mind itself, its first expression anyway. And that is really the personal God. Cosmic mind is the personal God. It's born from the womb, which we call Prakriti overall, nature, Mother Nature. That Mother Nature gives us a qualitative God, impersonal from that point of view. Do you have an example? Yes, Allah, Yahweh. Those aspects will be the impersonal God. The personal God, that will be cosmic mind. Most of us will have to go through all the avenues, all the steps to reach cosmic mind. And then he who has known the Son has known the Father in the Christian language. And when we go through cosmic mind like that, that's the most people's path. And usually some people, through great discipline, discernment, will jump straight away to the impersonal. And more than that, they'll jump straight away to the absolute impersonal. That absolute impersonal we call Brahman. The other aspect, the impersonal God, we call Saguna Brahman. The absolute we call Nirguna Brahman. The Saguna Brahman and Nirguna Brahman are not 2 separate Brahmans. One has no qualities or no characteristics whatsoever, no mind, no limbs, no eyes, no ears, no breath. The Saguna Brahman has omniscience, omnipotence, and omnipresence. And that translates into a personal aspect. So it's good to do that. When we say we are a helper, there's a possibility of us getting caught into a trap, which says, I'm a good listener. People come to me with all kinds of things they like to share with me. And it's possible, if we witness correctly, that there's an element of pride that can go with that, to say, I'm kind of special because people confide in me. There must be something in me, and I'm a helping person. And there goes with it maybe a sense of, I'm a unique helping person in this particular context. That's a trap. So how do we get out of the trap? Get out of that trap by seeking a little further wisdom and by seeing the sum totality of everything and the planned arrangement of it, and being thankful for it because we're part of the planned arrangement of it, not separate from it. So these are just some comments in relation to what you have just said.
I wanted to say, Swamiji, when I see it as a helper, I see in a way I feel completely detached to that. I do it's like when I was saying about Vivekananda, when he was doing things and following things, and but he didn't know where he was going yet. And then he became who he was. Um, that is kind of like when I said I feel like I'm married to God. That's how that's how kind of how I feel. In the sense of I would the other day, for example, I saw boxes of beautiful chocolates and they had like a bow on the top, and I looked and I said, I know this is you. And I said, how wonderful you're giving us like this. You see, and I get so emotional. I just cry. I just really cry. And you know, it's in the sense of I've got a job which they pay me for, but I don't feel any title on it because my feeling when I am there or anywhere, because I literally behave the same way everywhere. It's not only there. I
So
am exposed.
so that's wonderful to see this divine everywhere in everything, and to get the elevation of feeling as a result. That's wonderful, and it's also wonderful to gain some aspects, some relationship, either as a child, or as a parent, or as a presence, or as a partner, or as a marriage husband or wife, or something of this nature. All these aspects are good. One comment then about the song. Oh, my mind. I'll give you a loose translation of it. Oh, my mind. Why do you linger in a foreign land? Why don't you go home? And the image is that of somebody climbing a hill or a mountain in different stages. So we have certain equipment that we can take on our way, a lamp to light our way, and there are good rest houses on the way. There are resources that are provided to us in life on the way, holy company, guru, scripture. All of these are good rest houses that we can linger in and rest. And they also provide us protection against what? There are robbers on the way. What are these robbers? Pride, lust, greed, jealousy, all these vices that come to the mind as reactions from time to time spontaneously. They're all childhood friends that really are damaging to us, and they demand our attention. As soon as we notice them, we can steer the mind up toward our goal. So last night I gave a talk about what we learned from mountains, and the whole image of, oh, my mind. The other thing is to address the mind. The song is addressing the mind like a kindly uncle or aunt, you know. You're a mind, you wander here, you wander there. Oh, my mind. By addressing the mind like this, we're able to control it. Like talking to a friend. I see you wandering off here. You're entertaining old childhood friends. Never mind. Fortunately, there's a whole series, like a conveyor belt coming across, a kind of running tape called time. And we're able to say, okay, let me put something, a friend of my own, a new friend coming from adulthood, coming from a more mature position that serves to elevate the mind and move us upward until we realize home is much better. Home is much better than a foreign land. We are living in a foreign land. That's the point. So if you're helping and you're able to detach from that, that's a wonderful aspect. It's a wonderful thing to do. Then you have the benefit of both these sides. Not only the compassion of helping on the one side, but also the detachment that is necessary to not get emotionally, physically, or intellectually involved with it. Using the mind only as an internal instrument. That's the point. So, yes.
There was actually a phrase which touched me a lot this morning, and it said his confusion was his passion. How how do you take that?
No, because you see, whatever passion we have on the material sense will confuse the mind because it's not the solution to what we are seeking. We're seeking some kind of permanent thing. And whatever is there is fleeting. It'll come, it'll go, it'll create confusion. Why is this not satisfying me? It's a question that the mind itself is posing unconsciously. I'm doing A, B, and C, and D. Why is it not satisfying me? I see a box of chocolates with a nice bow on the top. Wonderful. But taking one chocolate, yes, and then another and another, well, sooner or later it may be finished. Why didn't it last eternally? Of course, for this reason, many people in religious life go to a basic core movement in religion that started in the ancient days and developed in something more profound, and that is what I desire here on earth. I'm sure I can replicate in heaven. Heaven will be a much better version of it. So you'll see many of the heavens described in religions will be a supplement to what I don't have here. For example, in Islam, heaven, paradise, is an exact description of what we don't have here in a desert, or what is the most exotic oasis that you can think of, with fountains, with gardens. You look on the outside of mosques, you see all the patterns are representations of the gardens of heaven. Beautiful fountains, beautiful rose flowers, exotic plants, all decorated nicely and entwined for our pleasure. Vessels representing water coming out like fountains. So this is a very primary understanding in religion that, and it's not bad, it's a good starting point. It's just not the conclusion, because sooner or later we realize it's just an elaborate extension of what we want here in this world, on the earth. And of course it's not satisfying. Therefore it's confusing. How is it never satisfied me? And how is it that no matter how much I repeat it, it doesn't satisfy me? And it doesn't also give me the answer to the most profound questions, because the confusion element comes in my misinterpretation of what we call the world. Thinking that it is permanent, thinking that it is the fountain of youth or whatever it is, we pursue it with all our vigor until we realize, oh, actually, it's Maya is another term for confusion. It looks like something. A mirage is confusing because it looks like something. When you go close, it disappears. It evaporates completely and leaves us confused. So we are all in a state of confusion. There's no clarity in it. That is why purifying the mind will get us out of this confusion. Coming back to past lives, I couldn't resist locating a passage in Patanjali Yoga Sutras. And it describes a number of things that will interest people if they want to review the past. And by reviewing the past, of course, they gain a lot. What will they gain? An increase in confusion. Because our destiny should be inserted here and now. We should invest in this present moment, not be bothered with the past. So a past question is why. A better question is why not, what next? Put something useful in. In the third chapter, or the third section of the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, he gives us clear formulas about how to gain unusual insights. Normally we bypass this, but let's see. By perceiving the impressions comes the knowledge of past life. What do we mean by impressions? It means accessing the unconscious mind, because past life is an unconscious impression. When we now go introspectively and review all the impressions what we call samskaras, good or bad, memories from the past, and really meditate on these. Now, what's the difficulty? We should be meditating on God. That's the difficulty. So that caveat has to be put. And so why should there be a knowledge of past life? Because the knowledge is already held in us. We just have to access it. Normally, we don't think about it. We don't bother about it. Swami Vivekananda uses many commentaries from Vyasa, Vachaspati, and various other places, and gives us this small commentary. Each experience, he says, that we have comes in the form of a wave in the chitta. You'll understand from previous talks, chitta is the bulk that we call mind. It's really mind stuff. It's a material that is very plastic. Neuroplasticity is what neurologists call it. It is pliable. What is it? It is an attractive force localized, and we call it my mind. So each experience that we have now, in the past, in the future, comes in the form of a wave in the chitta. You can imagine it like a kind of body of water. And this subsides and becomes finer and finer, but is never lost. It remains there in minute form, and if we can bring the wave up again, it becomes memory. That's the science of it. See, where we are now is a result of not just last life, but all the lives going back to an amoeba. We can put it like that, or a bacteria, organic life. And all of that goes back to mineral wealth, and all of that goes back to subtle waves, and all of that goes back to the creative mind, creative cosmic mind, and all of that comes from the first urge, the first umbrella potentiality that we have called the whole universe. And all that comes from an apparitional causation and comes from Brahman. There we've traced it. So it's not just a past life or a second ago or a minute ago. All of what we are now is a result of all the accumulated experiences of the past. And even a bacteria has a behavior. And the way it behaves is because it's learned. Why should it learn? Because it has intelligence. And the intelligence sits behind it, expressing itself in small ways, in bigger ways ultimately, in more comprehensive and complex ways, till we have man. So we even have the memory of bacteria. And every cell is an evidence of it, because bacteria is a single cell. So we have all these memories that come to us as cells. Imagine one cell, life starting off like that, and now is an accumulation of physical cells, bodily cells, all knowing how to cooperate with the monarch of all the cells, the queen bee of all the cells, the brain cells. And behind that, a mind. Behind that, an intelligence. And behind the whole thing, a cosmic mind expressing itself. Come on, do you recognize me? So he says, so if the yogi, that is the one who can concentrate, makes the samyam, that means concentration, meditation, and then accessing the truth, what we call samadhi, these three things combined, on these past impressions in the mind, he or she will begin to remember all the past lives. But then what use is it? That's the next question that has to be asked.
Swami, there's something that has got stuck in my head. I've never felt cosmic mind as a personal God. What is it? I mean, now, why? It's like I feel this is cosmic mind, which is very massive stuff.
Well, let me
And
correct
then
you
there's
there.
personal God.
Let
I
me
mean,
correct you. Cosmic mind has no mass, has no quantitative aspect to it.
it's just a feel. It's just a feel I had.
Yes, yes. So you can imagine it like a field of operation in an impersonal way. Yes, that's fine. But you see, it has operational intelligence. It has designership in it. It is God the creator. That's what it is. And so that is why in other places we call this Brahma. So it is the creative God that is described in the Abrahamic religion as Yahweh. It is or really it is that which is called, yes, Ruach, the spirit that moves over the waters. It has a creative aspect to it. It is termed or deemed in Christianity to be something like a father, because society was patronistic or patristic. But in the Eastern tradition, we can view it more as a mother. And because the energetic aspect of it is feminine, is seen to be feminine, put it that way. And that comes out as Shakti. And the Christian language for it will be Spirit, Holy Spirit. Some energetic thing that moves everything, inspires everything. So you see all these universal ideas are mutually compatible. And even if you say, I don't believe in all of that, such as maybe the Jewish people might say, or the Islamic people might say, well, still, in some schools of these religions, there is a Neoplatonic connection. Neoplatonism will follow Plotinus, that is influenced by Persian and Indian ideas, and it comes out as Logos and gets influenced in Christian theology as John's prologue. In the beginning was the Word, and it comes out even more in Paul and St. Paul's letters and so on and so forth. To Paul, Christ is the cosmic Christ or cosmic mind. It is not the historic Christ. So, what is the benefit of personalizing this? Well, if we choose the path of devotion, then we should personalize it and relate to it in a personal way as a person listening to us and we listening to it. You've done it already when you look at Ganesha.
Okay, so personal God is when you put its name, like let's say Ramakrishna or Vivekananda. Is that what it means?
Well, this whole question of Ishtadevata will start, and here it's worth reading and studying the series of lectures on Bhakti Yoga by Swami Vivekananda. There's a special section on a chosen ideal, Ishtadevata, and part of Bhakti Yoga or devotional worship will be to choose an aspect of the divine that, because the divine is inaccessible to us conceptually, so we have to conceive of something in order to relate to it. And in order to worship something, it has to be tangibly real to us. We have to feel it. Now, we could feel it as a presence. Yes, this is one aspect. But the other side of the coin is to place ourselves in a position, either as a child, or as a friend, or as a servant, or as a lover, or as a parent. These are the various bhavas or moods. So we start off by understanding psychologically, where are we most comfortable? And it doesn't mean, say, we can fix on that alone, we can shift it. But then that comes or brings about a chosen ideal. And the chosen ideal, if we don't know what it is, a guru will supply it for us. They will know, they'll have the insight to know, my dear, this is your Ishtadevata. Ramakrishna introduces us to the guru. He defines the guru. He says the guru is like a matchmaker in a romantic relationship. My dear, this is your beloved. Beloved, this is your corresponding beloved. Like that. And then, of course, the question of a mantra is issued, which is the sound embodiment of your Ishtadevata. That is also given. And where does it come from? Well, it comes to the Guru through cosmic mind, from this divine inspiration. That means that all prayer has to be like this. All prayer is listening. Prayer at its most profound is listening, not talking, but listening, being a recipient. So these are some ideas in this connection, yes. Does anybody else have a question, by the way?
I've been actually wondering, so if then am I conscious, or am I because my prayers do always go to Brahman. I mean, it always goes a straight line. I feel like, for me, like Ramakrishna and Ganesh and so on, are more like kind of guardians. They're like, because they are Brahman in itself, so they are aspects of it. So I don't really pray to them. When I see them, I see Brahman, but my prayers go straight up, let's say, saying somewhere. So am I personalizing and just being aware that they are all an aspect of it, or am I impersonalizing?
Well, there is that aspect from the devotee of just an amorphous presence, and so if that's what I want, if I want to feel an amorphous presence around me, that's also fine. But then we have a problem. The devotee has a problem, a conceptual problem, isn't it? Because when you're talking of prayer, you're talking of an object. You're praying to something, or you're connecting with something. So there's a duality involved. And if we are content to have an amorphous presence, then that's fine. But, and if we can connect to that, that's fine. That's fine. So many devotees have that. But then they're faced with the issue of what is the conceptual difficulty about that? How do you conceive of something like that? How do you form a relationship with that? How does your bhakti evolve into prema, ecstatic love? So these are some of the questions before a devotee. You see, Brahman, in its absolute sense, cannot be prayed to, because Brahman is not an object. Saguna Brahman, that can be prayed to. But still, what concept do you have? It's the argument that Swami Vivekananda brings up. He says, you see, everybody is an image maker. You can't avoid it. As soon as you put a word, a corresponding image is there. So even when the Muslims say, no, we don't believe in any conceptualization of Allah, as soon as you say Allah, what comes to mind? Something. You might think of that as the infinite sky or the infinite ocean. But some concept will be there. That's the thing.
I see it as everything at nothing. I don't have a face or anything. It's just I just see blank. I see blank. It's just
okay.
So
what does blank feel like?
is everything, is totally safe. For me, it's absolutely totally safe.
What does it feel like? Is my question.
Oh my goodness, how can I explain?
Okay. So if you're struggling to define how it feels, it means you're feeling, and that's okay. But my point is that some concept will be there, and it won't be a blank.
It's like an how.
Is this wall behind me? Is it a blank?
No, it's white.
Yes. Okay. So some concept would be there. I'm not asking anybody to define the concept, but I'm just making the point. Some concept would be there.
For me, I feel it's like everything that can't do anything creates anything. It's just
yes. No, that's okay to see it as a kind of flow. My point is that some conceptual understanding will necessarily be there. As soon as you say Brahman, some concept is there. You can't avoid it. Every word has a concept. Now, is it important and significant? No, it's not. Because if that suits you, if that suits the devotee has to understand that. This will be one mood of the devotional attitudes. It doesn't have to have a face or anything. It'll be one mood. It's a presence. That's fine. So if that's fine for you, that's fine. And but when you meet a guru, it may or may not change. I don't know. We just have to see. We all require a guru, of course. Yeah.
Hopefully, all right. Swamiji.
Swamiji, I just...
Yes, thank you.
Swamiji, I just posted a question, Swamiji, just in relation to what you were saying about listening during meditation,
Okay, all right, thank you. So prayer starts off with prayerfulness. And when we are prayerful, we are silent. And in the silence, noble thoughts will arise. Where they arise, where are they coming from? They're coming from the inner silent voice of God. We can put it like that. And so, just as when you tune your radio set into RTE, for example, you're not actively requesting anything from RTE. That kind of prayer is there, no doubt. But real prayer at the fundamental level would be tuning in and then listening. You listen to the broadcast. And so it's in that quietness that you find the still, small, sweet voice of God. Now you have made the most and deepest intimate connection. And that connection is called prayer.
Beautiful, Swamiji. Thank you.
Well, we have time only maybe for a few more questions. 5 minutes, I think, more. So if there are any more questions. I have a book I carry around with me all the time because it is so profound, and it is a summary of quotations from the Divine Mother, Sharda Devi, and some most profound things that have been told on prayer and japa and so on. And one of the things that she's saying is about the time. So she said, it is very necessary to have a fixed time for the practice of japa and meditation. For it cannot be said when the auspicious moment will come. I'll wait for a mood to be created, and when I find that, that's the auspicious time, that may not come. when I do meditation workshops, as I previously mentioned, it's necessary for most people in the beginning to have mood creators. And I have 18 listed. You can't necessarily use all of them, but sufficient to create the mood that I've just described, prayerfulness. She says, it arrives so suddenly. The urge to do it is so sudden. No one gets any hint at it beforehand. Therefore, one should observe regularity, however busy one may be with duties. Even in the midst of the most intense activity, one should at least remember God and salute Him. Very often you find a question coming up, oh, I have no time for prayer and meditation, and you say I should be thinking of God all the time, but I'm so busy. But there it is. And she knew because she was in the midst of intense activity herself. She was not somebody who lived in a cave or far away in a forest or living a life of in a convent or something. She was in the midst of the daily throng of busy life. And she says, even in the midst of the most intense activity, one should at least remember God and salute Him. Just a remembrance. Oh, you are there? My salutation to you. Salutation means also my gratitude. Then she says, may your body and mind become pure by repeating the name of God. Japa purifies not only the mind, but also the body, because every cell gets infused with this name when accompanied by feeling. She's taking for granted that repeating the name of God is doing it in a loving way, and that makes it meaningful. Again, she says, the mantra purifies the body. Man becomes pure by repeating the mantra of God. It is said, the human teacher utters the mantra into the ear, but God breathes the spirit into the soul. What does that mean? By the repetition of this holy name, in the beginning, it may be repetitive and boring until you infuse it with feeling and you make friends with it, and then the divine infuses it with its own spirit, and it becomes an indispensable practice. As wind removes the cloud, so the name of God destroys the cloud of worldliness. These are some beautiful, beautiful quotations from the Divine Mother on the subject of japa and meditation. So nice to see you all. Yes, somebody had his final comment somewhere? No?
Yeah, Swamiji. So should the feeling that we are associating with that mantra, should it be the actual meaning of the mantra itself, or can it be something?
Well, the meaning will infuse yourself with feeling. Supposing I ask you to repeat elephant, 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 you'll fall asleep. If you say elephant and understand, oh, elephant, and then see, oh, I like elephants, and elephants are so strong, and you imagine an elephant, you see? Somebody used the example, you see, and Marina there used the example of Ganesha, you see how she is moved by seeing Ganesha. So, okay, but if you just say to Ganesha, Ganesha, and have no meaning about it, you'll fall asleep, it becomes dull. So when you infuse it with meaning, that with feeling and meaning should be the same thing. See? We love God because God is lovable. And when we recall the loving presence of that now, here and now, then naturally all the heart gets saturated with that feeling. And that becomes a purifying thing for body and mind, of course. The French, I see, have this saying, you see, psychophysique. They make a whole, a whole emphasis on it. It grets anyway. So yes, the psychophysical, because you can't separate the two. You can't separate one from the other. If you want to purify the body and make it strong, japa. If you want to purify the mind and make it strong, japa. All right.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Nice to see you all, and thank you for your various texts and so on. Yes, I miss you all too as well, of course. Good. Namaste to all of you.
Thank you very much, Swamiji.
Okay.
Thank you, Swamiji.
All right.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Merci beaucoup, Swami.
Merci beaucoup.